ISIL is now claiming responsibility for the London Bridge attack, according to a private intelligence firm called SITE. But that claim has not been substantiated by British authorities. Meanwhile, the capital on edge after a third terrorist attack to hit the country since March. 7 killed and nearly 50 hospitalized on Saturday night after a car and knife attack on the London Bridge. And overnight, police conducted raids, making at least a dozen arrests. CGTN's Natalie Powell has been reporting live from London in the past 5 hours. Natalie, what have we learned regarding the latest investigation and also the suspects?
Well, of course, we know ISIL claiming responsibility. British police will be looking into verifying that claim to see perhaps if there was contact abroad or whether there was contact over the internet potentially, but very much investigating that claim that has come out now. In terms of the investigation on the ground here, though, we know that 12 people have been arrested. The breakdown of that: 7 women and 5 men. 4 locations were searched. The arrests have taken place in 2 of those locations. So presumably police will be speaking to these people arrested to try to really get a background on these 3 men that were carrying out the attack, but also were killed by police in that attack, to try to establish their motive, potentially their background, and also to try to rule out, presumably, any accomplices that they may have had, and to discover, of course, whether they were part of a network. In terms of the victims, though, we have had the very first name of one of the victims, a Canadian citizen, Christine Archibald. We've seen, of course, flowers gathering at the Borough Market site, of course, which is completely cordoned off still, but there are signs that life is returning to normal in the capital. The Borough Tube Station, which was near where the knife attacks took place, opened a few hours ago, and we understand from Transport for London that London Bridge Station, Tube Station, will be open on Monday, but it will be exit only. So while there are signs that the capital is returning to normal, it's still very much in the hearts and feelings of people here just what has happened. And we can take a listen to some of the eyewitnesses now. What a really tragic event this was that unfolded on Saturday night.
At this point, this is when I saw the driver of the vehicle, and definitely intentional. You know, he didn't look scared, he just looked focused, and I'd almost like to say the word demented. That's what he looked like. And at this point, that was when he was heading straight towards me.
I started running as fast as I could. There were sirens everywhere, people screaming, the glass was smashed in one shot.
His friends put a tourniquet on him, so they acted very quickly. He only stepped outside the pub for a second, and a man ran up to him and said, "This is for my family, for Islam." Looked him straight in the face and stabbed him.
Now, UK Prime Minister Theresa May has obviously condemned this attack. Speaking on the steps of 10 Downing Street, she said that there was too much tolerance of extremism and set about plans that she intends to initiate to try to essentially crack down on this and secure up the country. Of course, this is the 3rd such attack, terrorist attack, in the UK since the end of March. So she spoke about things like cracking down on internet sites where potentially terrorism plots were being planned. But in order to do that, she would need international cooperation as well, and she intends on doing that. She also spoke about reviewing the UK's counter-terrorism methods, while she praised the counter-terrorism officials and officers in foiling 5 plots since that very first attack that took place in March here. She did say that the terror threat has become slightly more fragmented, and therefore the UK's counter-terrorism operations perhaps need a bit of a review. And we can listen to what Theresa May had to say on those steps of 10 Downing Street earlier on.
Since the emergence of the threat from Islamist-inspired terrorism, our country has made significant progress in disrupting plots and protecting the public. But it is time to say enough is enough. Everybody needs to go about their lives as they normally would. Our society should continue to function in accordance with our values. But when it comes to taking on extremism and terrorism, things need to change.
Well, Natalie, Theresa May says the general election will go ahead as planned on Thursday. How do you think this terror attack may affect her campaign and the campaigns in general?
Well, of course, this is now the second time in just a couple of weeks that campaigning has had to stop as a result of the security and terror situation in the UK. And it will have been, of course, the last weekend of campaigning, which some people are saying could well affect the campaigning efforts. But, of course, in the minds of the UK citizens voting, of course, on Thursday, they will obviously be perhaps thinking more about who they believe should be the leader to essentially lead Britain through what's taking place and securing up the country. But of course, it's all going to be about voter turnout as well. And many people may feel not really comfortable going to the polling stations where potentially they could become targets because there will be numbers of people attending those polling stations.
Natalie Powell, following the latest London terror attack for us, thank you very much.